Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. The situation is getting worse and worse, and not just, for example, for Ukrainian military forces or for the Russian military forces. I'm talking about just about the regular people. The situation for them is critical, and I see that Ukrainians, just regular Ukrainians, don't know what to do in the current situation. For example, the previous night we got some video from the western part of Ukraine. A young family, a wife and husband and kids took a decision to spend their Orthodox Christmas somewhere in the western part of Ukraine, but while they were moving on their car to that part of Ukraine, they were stopped by the Ukrainian military forces. Her husband was kidnapped and he was moved to unknown direction. This woman was left with her daughter or son somewhere among the fields and roads. She doesn't have license, and she just started making videos, publishing some shorts, asking people for help because she doesn't know what to do. She's completely alone. When talking about Odessa area, we got another video on how the Ukrainians managed to capture a significant number of people, of men who was trying to cross the border. There was a bus, and this bus was completely filled with young men, and according to information we have, every single one of them paid $5,000 like a ticket for I don't know, rescue ticket. But the bus was stopped by the Ukrainian authorities, and soon all these guys will be sent somewhere to Avdiivka or let's say to Bakhmut. But there is a, let's say, if we can call it let's say a happy end case. Another Ukrainian man published the video how he managed to cross the Nabi River, or some river between Romania and Ukraine, and he managed to survive. He completely, as you can see, he managed to survive. This is the most important. Later he published another video that he was captured, or I don't know, not captured, but he was met by the Romanian authorities. He got so normal, let's say, clothes. He received some access, maybe some ticket, and after Romania he entered Hungary. So just one happy end case in these stories of very bad cases in Ukraine. Mobilization is going to continue, and just put your attention that the mobilization law, total mobilization law, hasn't been adopted yet. When talking about the situation on the ground during the previous night, the Ukrainians made another attempt to attack Crimea with drones and missiles. All attacks were repelled by the Russians. The Ukrainians haven't managed to deal even a single damage. When talking about the southern part of Ukraine, about Kherson, during the previous night we got few geolocated videos of Ukrainian HIMARS strikes, and recently the previous weeks, the Ukrainians mainly were focused on targeting the Russian air defense forces. And to tell the truth, during the previous days we saw a lot of videos how the Russians destroyed IRST systems, but during the previous weeks, days, we got also significant number of videos from the Ukrainian side how they managed to destroy also few air defense systems of Russian Federation. We see that there were at least 4 HIMARS cases of HIMARS strikes. Today we got ASA air defense system destroyed. A few days ago we got destroyed by the HIMARS attack another air defense system, and this is probably, yes, this is the drone system, a reconnaissance team. This is radar that was destroyed by the Ukrainians also for air defense purposes, and this is another air defense system, Strela, Zerka, air defense system Strela. So Ukrainians tried to attack Russian Federation in Crimea using Kherson. Lots of drones are trying to bypass this territory through this area, let's say from Nikolaev, something like this, or let's say from Odessa, but also the drones are flying very close to the land, to Kherson area, and according to information we have, most of those drones that were sent were shot down by the Russian air defense. So during the previous few days there were a lot of attacks to Crimea, but those attacks were just the preparation. The main purpose of the Ukrainians as well as the Russians to discover air defense system and to suppress. I believe that all these attacks from either from the Russian or Ukrainian side will take place for some period of time. The main purpose of them to discover air defense positions, but somewhere in 2 or 3 weeks of successful let's say suppression of air defense, we're going to see a massive strike probably from both sides. So the situation develops very very interesting. We'll see what is going to be next. When talking about Krynki itself, there were no changes during the previous night. The clashes continues. The Ukrainians still have possibilities to control the foothold, but the next days the weather is going to be very bad, very difficult in this area, and the situation can be turned completely in the different direction. So we'll see. Now we're moving to the main battles of Ukraine. We're going to bypass Zaporozhye. We haven't received anything. South Donetsk as well. We got lots of updates from Avdiivka area. Most of the sources confirms that the Russians yesterday in the evening launched probably the third wave of massive attack around Avdiivka in many directions. The sources are saying that the Russians continue advancing after they managed to penetrate the Ukraine defense belt in the vicinity of Ocheretina. The Russians continue advancing further to the west, trying to bypass Berdychi from the north, and according to some sources the Russians managed to bypass another few hundred meters. The Russians continued their advancing along the railways in direction of this village. Between the railways, the Ukrainians were forced to step back to withdraw positions, and the Russians managed to bypass additional 100 meters. Also, the Ukrainian source confirmed that the Russians attack on the north of Stepova, and the Russians are trying to enter this defense belt and these trenches. This is the next fortification belt, and if the Russians are able to capture this territory, this one, stronghold, this one, then they will be able to completely secure Stepova, and the Ukrainians will be forced to step back completely to Berdychi. So currently this is the main area. The Russians made few attempts in the past, a lot of attempts to attack Stepova, but all those attacks were repelled, and due to the configuration of the ground it was very difficult to hold this area because there were no long-term positions. And now the Russians realized they managed to get success to the north because there are a lot of long-term positions, and the Ukrainians, as you can see, after the Russians captured some of these long-term positions, wasn't able to force the Russians to withdraw. So that's why this is something like a key tactics that the Russians found for this part of Avdiivka. If they capture this tree line, there are very high chances that the Russians will be able to dig in deeper, much deeper. When talking about Avdiivka itself, different mappers confirms the Russian progress on the eastern part. The Russians currently are trying to move along these tree lines to get to the south and to split this territory in two parts. So most of the mappers have updated their maps showing this territory, these few more additional square meters, kilometers under Russian control. Furthermore, other sources reported that the Russians launched a very powerful attack in direction of the 9th quarter, 9th block of Avdiivka, which also confirms Russian control over this stronghold. We haven't received geolocated video confirmation of battles or control over this territory, just Telegram messages and Twitter messages, X messages. But so for now we are going to keep this area as is, but we see another attempt. Also, sources confirms about the very poor and very difficult situation of Ukrainians in Pervomaiska. This is the second confirmation of Russian control over this territory, and probably the Ukrainians completed their withdrawing positions process, and now the battle are taking place along these streets in direction of the main part of Pervomaiska. The clashes continues. We haven't received anything about Novomikhailivka and Marinka during the previous night. As well, we haven't received anything about Bakhmut and Bogdanovka area. We have some updates, some additional updates on Solidar direction. According to information we have, the Ukrainians published geolocated video of destroyed Russian armored vehicles almost on the edge positions in Sporne to the south. On this video we can see how the Ukrainian 10th Mountain Assault Brigade was bombing and attacking the Russian armored vehicles, abandoned Russian armored vehicles. The infantry, as you can see, managed to land and to get some trenches here, and after that the Ukrainians basically destroyed that armored vehicle. So the Russians are getting closer and closer to the main tree lines to the south of Sporne, but yet haven't captured them. And we got some updates about Kremenaya Forest. The Russians also launched an offensive operation, and as a result of another storm process and clearing the area, the Russians managed to improve their positions and to get closer to Seversky Donets River. So the battle in this area also continues, and we will adjust the territory, not about colors, but we will cover this area in the gray zone before the next video. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.